It is time for the weekly Midway Football Podcast. I'm David Smoak inside the studios of 365 Sports and Midway head coach Joe Gillespie. And I got to tell you, we're in a routine, you and I and your staff, been in a routine really since the last week in August. Every Tuesday I'd show up at your field house and we'd have lunch and we'd talk and we'd go over the, players, who was playing, who was hurt, whatever. And yesterday kind of like, so if it's like that for me, and all I am is broadcasting it, but I do prep a lot.
Sure.
That's what I do.
Absolutely.
What was it like for you and the staff?
Oh, I'll be honest with you, David. I mean, this is a tough week. This is probably one of the tougher weeks that you experience as a coach, throughout the year, not just the season, just the year. And when you just start talking about being around these kids, you're around them so much and you invest so much into them. They invest so much into your program. And then all of a sudden, you go from seeing these guys way more than their parents get to see them and stuff. And you spend all of this time and work and then all of a sudden it comes to an end. And, I've been doing this for a good minute now and I haven't figured out the magic words, to sit there and make things better and stuff other than, just how grateful and appreciative we are of what they've done and talking about the seniors and appreciative of what they've done and how they've continued to build this program and put Midway back on the map. And I think they've done that. It's a new group's turn now to sit there and carry that torch. And I think that torch is lit and it's flaming pretty hot right now. We got to take the same leap that we did from year one to year two. We're going to have to take that same leap again from year two to year three. And that leap's going to be tougher than it was before.
You had seniors who were a part of the team that made the playoffs last year and it lost to Waxahachie. And then this year the team before that, they struggled. They had the coaching change mid-year. They got to the playoffs, but they got back in the playoffs. So it is a building, like a slow, methodical build. Yeah, that's what Waxahachie had to do with Coach Tollison. I mean, you had Duncanville, DeSoto in that district, and then they slowly, and they're really good. Do you feel good about the underclassmen who were paying attention and played a lot, but paying attention to the upperclassmen?
Absolutely. I think it's been really neat to sit here and just watch the maturation process since the time that I got here and kind of where we're at right now. And I'm not going to talk bad about the culture before or anything like that. I mean, I wasn't here, so I don't understand it, but I can tell you what we've tried to implement since getting here and what our culture is going to be about and stuff. There's a big difference in the way, not just our seniors and our varsity and the way that they approach the game and the program, but our subs and those in our JVs and our freshmen, our lower classes. They were as excited, if not more excited, to be on the sideline, to get to experience that and to go out and practice another week. And obviously we wanted to go several more weeks and, they were chomping at the bit for it. That's when, kids are having fun and they love the game. The biggest thing we started exit meetings this week and we started with our seniors. I think they deserve that. And we're going to do the seniors first and doing it by position. And then I'm visiting with them and there's a lot of the biggest common denominator is, it's the brotherhood. It's the brotherhood of being in that locker room. It's the brotherhood of being with these guys and just such a fun time and playing this game and going to practice. And it wasn't tough. They looked forward to it as much as we did as coaches.
I remember when I first saw Andrew McNair, Sunshine, as you told me last year, when they got forced into play when Cash Pullen went out with the injury and what he did. And then he really was good. We're not going to be able to go through every senior. Sure. We just can't do that. You mentioned one, you're not going to be able to mention, 25 or 30 or whatever it was. Yeah. But I really thought, he finally got hit a little bit more than normal in that game because Waxahachie's so good. But that also then leads to me, one, how he performed, but also 5 senior offensive linemen that pretty much almost seemed like they were at every snap. Now, Jackson Shane eventually went over to defensive line.
Sure.
But how they protected him.
Yes, sir.
And yes, opened up holes for Lathan Wissington, among others. But that's what I'll Lathan, we'll get to that. But it really was a strength of your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Coach Wall, Coach Garrett, Coach Jansen, those 3 guys, what they do with those kids and how hard they work and how much they believe in each other and how they understood, when you talk about offensive linemen are a different breed. I mean, they have to be. And if they're not, then something's wrong. I mean, they got to be, they kind of are their own little entity and they walk and talk and eat and sleep, a little bit different drum than everybody else on the rest of the team. And that's when you've got good culture, good camaraderie and stuff. And so those guys, they have to work in unison. It's an orchestrated deal that they got to work together on every single play. And you mentioned it, just, Andrew McNair coming out and doing what he did. He had a phenomenal season. We wouldn't have been able to do the things that we did if it wasn't for him and so many others. But I'm going to tell you, there were some games that Andrew McNair walked out of the game going, man, I feel better than I do after a practice.
Wow. He didn't get touched, but I think he was sacked twice entering that game against Waxahachie.
Sure. And so, he's a tough kid, and I think the future is going to be very bright for that young man.
Wide receivers were fun to watch. Scythe had a huge game. Great career for him.
Yes,
Brock and Birch, it just seemed like those guys were ballers. Hamilton coming back and made a nice catch for a touchdown. Obviously, you had others that were a part of it too. Thomas got a lot of snaps in the last half of the year. Lathan Wissington. I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
Longer than even a minute. I've done this a long time. I've seen some great running backs, and I know that he's not the highest rated, but there aren't many that are better than him. And he is so humble. We discussed that last week. But how has he handled the attention? Because that ramps up even further now that he's a senior next year.
First off, I'm going to sit there and commend his mom and dad. And they're just phenomenal people. And obviously they have raised him and Landon, who was with us last year. Those are 2 phenomenal young men. So you set football to the side. They're great students. They're very humble young men. I'm not going to sit there and say that they're perfect. Nobody is. But, when I was their age, and if I was getting the recognition and everything that he's getting, there's no telling how I would have handled that. I certainly wouldn't have handled it with the grace that he's done it with. Lathan is a big team player. And he is a great football player. I think he's the, top 10 running backs in the state of Texas, no doubt. And that's any classification, that's, any grade level and stuff like that. And so, but he is a big team player and, he could very easily be about me. And instead you don't see him showboat and stuff like that. He wants to go celebrate with his coaches. He wants to celebrate with his teammates. He comes out to work and work hard every day. It's kind of a, mouth shut. Let's roll our sleeves up, put on your hard hat and carry your lunch pail and roll up your sleeves and let's go to work.
He took some shots in that game early, especially, but then you started to see it about 3 or 4 runs where sometimes he might have been able to go 50 or 40 or whatever.
Sure.
But obviously how talented, they had 90-something yards still in that loss. So he's really good, can go pretty much anywhere he wants. And you're right, not one time did I ever see him have a look at me moment.
Correct.
I never saw him point at himself.
Yes, sir.
It was, as you said, jumping up and having the high five through the shoulder pads or whatever. Then you have Jaden Fields Vaughn, who exploded on the scenes early with one 50, 60, 80-yarder after another. And then he got dinged up a little bit, had the foot injury, the low ankle sprain. Didn't quite have the finish, which is part of growth.
Sure.
And he's also diminutive, but strong. He's on kick coverage, makes tackles there. How much can you see improvement from him with an offseason and weights, conditioning, and more?
Well, man, this is going to be huge for him. And you sit there and you just think back to this time last year where Lathan Wissington was and what he was able to display this year. And, a great football player, but, he took a big stride in his game, his IQ of the game, everything. And so, and Lathan's just scratching at the door, honestly. And then I think we view Jaden Fields Vaughn as the same way. I mean, he's got the same type of talent. They're different running backs. They're different styles. But I think if Jaden, which he will, because he is a hard work ethic kid, built very much the same way as far as character and work ethic and all of that stuff. I see him, everything was thrust upon him this year, and man, it was learning on the run, like drinking through a fire hose, and the game's going to slow down for him. And I think we're going to see some huge improvements from this year to next year, and just what that tandem is going to be able to do.
So many injuries on defense. We know the linebackers were all beat up, almost like every one of them, it seemed like. But you had the Matons and Kazukas and others that just played with their hair on fire. I think Kazuka had 14 tackles against Waxahachie in that last game. Jaden Anderson, obviously. Satterfield's a heck of a corner. Herberto Torres. He can't be 650 pounds. But, I mean, is fearless. And that's the mentality you need at safety, but just playing defense.
Absolutely. And we're going to sit there and we kind of finished up there with Beto, and, on paper and on the hoof and all those things, looking at him and stuff and going into the season, you would sit there and just think, I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to last and stuff. And the kid just kept coming and kept playing and kept working and kept grinding, and he knows the game so well, and he knew that he needed to. He knows our defense. He knew how to quarterback it, and the guy just made plays. And man, that's what makes, in my opinion, that's what makes high school football in general so much fun, is to sit there and watch young men like that, because, the likelihood of him going on and putting on that helmet and pads again, that's, maybe unlikely. He loves the game and loves it with a deep passion. And so to watch guys like him, and man, we got so many others that are just like it. We got some coming, and that's high school football. And that's when it gets really good.
What's do you remember your last game you ever played?
Yes, sir.
Now, you were a part of Stephenville.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of times that was in late December, and a lot of times it was raising a trophy. What was your last game?
It was game 12 of the season. I was at Stephenville. We had it was the first time Stephenville had been in the playoffs. My senior year was the first time Stephenville had been in the playoffs in 32 years, if you can believe that. I think it was 32 or 35. And we played Belton round one at Floyd Casey Stadium. Belton at the time, I want to say, was ranked number 3 or 4. And we went out there and we put a spanking on them. And I'll be honest with you, Stephenville had not been in the playoffs in decades. Now that was also back when they took 2.
Yes.
And there wasn't a Division I, Division II, and all that. I mean, if you were 4A, you're 4A. If you're 5A, 5A. And so we played Fort Worth Brewer round 2 at home. We won the toss and we played them at home. Honestly, on paper and everything, Belton was a better football team than Brewer. But Brewer put the spanking on us that we did to Belton, and you always remember that. But we as players, we didn't even know that there was a bye district and the order of the playoffs.
After 3+ decades, that was not even in the vocabulary.
Had no clue how many games it took to get to state and stuff like that. It was just a wild idea, and obviously, from that moment forward, Stephenville just it skyrocketed, and within a few years they were, in the 90s, they won 4 state championships.
Last thing, it's one thing when you lose a game, it's always hard. Sometimes going in that you're going to have to play almost a perfect game, and you knew that with Waxahachie. You and I discussed that in your office, what was it, last Tuesday? And they didn't make many mistakes, and you try to force them. You try to sneak in an onside kick, whatever else. Sometimes the team's just better than you.
Sure.
And how much, like 2 years ago, there was 2 blocked extra points away. Waxahachie was kind of figuring themselves out. And now here they are, a win against Duncanville. They're in that great district, and they've beaten you up the last couple of years. Is that something your young players could look at and go, that's how much better we get? Now, there is no, like, maybe there is a Jaquan Snell walking through your hallways,
sure,
who's going to play at A&M and in the NFL on Sundays. But do you think they get that? And can you see that you can get there?
We're going to have to get there. We have no choice. And, I think Midway, I still believe this, and I'll say this until they get rid of me. And this is one of the top programs in the state of Texas. It's a top 10 program, if not a top 5. I think Midway belongs on the map. They belong in the same breath as a Duncanville, a Waxahachie, a South Lake, Carroll, a Westlake, a Lake Travis, and a Lido, a Katy. When you're talking about those schools and stuff, Midway should be mentioned in that category. And so these kids, this community, it's prime for this. And the community is prime, the kids, the administration, the support that we have, is just going to continue to be a belief in our system and belief in what we're doing. And in order for us to get there, it's going to take an entire village. It's not just going to be me, and it's not just going to be these coaches or anything. I mean, it's going to take an entire village to do this. And to me, I think this is just scratching at the surface of what we're going to be capable and able to do.
Well, and there was a time when Midway beat South Lake Carroll,
sure,
when Midway beat Duncanville and won, beat Longview. And I mean, there's some of the great classic playoff games among others as well. I enjoyed it, man. It's been always 2 years with you and me doing this together. I thoroughly enjoy the access, how transparent you guys are. And 9-2 is better than 7-4, and 7-4 is better than 5-6, and 5-6 better than the 3 years prior to that when they didn't make the playoffs. So chopping wood and getting closer and closer. You last year lost, turned in your stuff, and then went straight to the offseason. Are you already in the offseason?
We have turned in the stuff, and we are kind of, I'm pumping the brakes just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, these kids, they pour so much into it. And I think it was just a little bit different dynamic at this point last year.
Yeah.
We needed a full year. I needed a full year with them, and they needed a full year of what this was going to look like. They have an idea now, and they've got a better grasp of how this runs and how this rolls. And so, our biggest deal right now is we're going out there in the mornings. We're still getting there, getting us about a 45-minute little workout in. It might be a little Beach Boy type deal, and I think I could do it with them. But we're just getting around each other, and we're going to start building that bond. It's a new chapter. Whatever you've got coming back, it's still going to be a different team, and we got a long journey ahead of us. But I need these kids to get refreshed. I need the Latham Wissingtons and all those guys that are returning to heal up.
Decompress,
we get a week off next week with Thanksgiving. I want them to get away. I want them to get away from the place. I want them to get away from us. I want them to go spend some quality time with their family and break bread and be thankful. But when we get back,
it's time.
Yeah.
Do you have any of your non-district games lined up? Because it's a realignment year that you'll know in February what the districts.
Yeah. I'm hoping this holds up. So it's not etched in stone or anything, but I'm hoping this holds up. Game 1, it looks like it's going to be Leander Rouse. Leander Rouse, Josh Mann, they were the only ones that agreed to play us that we played in non-district. Tried to get all of them, but Leander Rouse agreed to play. So right now we've got Leander Rouse game 1. We have Aledo game 2.
Aledo?
Yes, sir. We have Aledo game 2. And game 3, it's kind of up in the air a little bit. I know, but we need to see that. We need to see it early, and we need to see that quite a bit.
Aledo, the Bearcats, the 12-time state champion. But that's who you're going to have to play to get better.
Absolutely.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
I mean, that's exciting. You're going to be, I think that's fair to say, you'll be an underdog in that game with what they're doing, and they may win another state championship this year. But hell, that's awesome, man.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right, Joe Gillespie, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Appreciate all your support. Appreciate what you do and what you just do for kids in general. Man, you are the best there is at it. And, man, I'm grateful to get to do this with you every week.
Me too. And I miss it until August of next year, and I'll be at the banquet in mid-January.
Look forward to it, buddy.
Joe Gillespie, 9-2, Midway. After the season wrapped up, hope you've enjoyed the podcast each week. Thanks to Garrett Ross and our sponsors, including Burt Colgan Ford, and then also Batteries Plus and Peter Chevrolet. This has been the Midway High School Football Podcast.